Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday. Hey, baby, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. We got a fun day. I got a guest coming up. Going to be visiting with Mark Greaney, and he's got a book called Gunmetal Gray. So I'm excited to visit with him. He's a best-selling author, so bet there's at least one or two people listening right now that said, oh, hey, I love his books. He's got a lot of good ones out there. You want to live longer? Raise worms. A new study out of Mobile, Alabama reveals that people who raise and sell earthworms live 9.2 years longer than the average person. But then again, you are spending most of your time, raising worms. So
I don't think they live longer. I think it just feels like they're living longer.
Hey, 6 people were arrested in New York for importing nearly $20 million worth of counterfeit hip-hop style clothing. So, there you go.
Why?
Counterfeit hip-hop clothing. I don't know. I can just imagine Heidi and I wearing that. There you go. Coming up, we got some special things going on today. We'll tell you all about that in a bit. Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. It's Monday, March the 6th. Today is Sofia Klovaiskia Math Day. I'm sure I didn't get any of that right. I don't know who that is, but it's her math day today. It's also Day of the Dude. Today is Kazimir Pulaski Day. What is the deal? Everybody gets.
I have no idea what any of this is.
It's Heidi Small Day today. See, why not? If they get their day, if Kazimir Pulaski gets a day, my wife gets a day.
I like that.
Happy Heidi Day. It's Fun Facts About Names Day today. It is National Dress Day today. And here's the one I'm going to celebrate. It is Oreo Cookie Day today. Now, they should quit messing with the Oreo cookies, by the way.
I agree.
It was perfect. And then they started going, oh, we're going to put more stuffing in it.
I saw some Peeps ones
what is
the other
deal
day.
With that? Whoever's working at Oreo, messing with all the stuff in the kitchen, just take a break. I mean, you had a perfect cookie. Just leave it alone. I don't know what the deal is there. It's like the Reese's people. I was looking at some of the Reese's things.
Yeah,
and
they're going crazy too.
Hershey's got some weird stuff too. I'm like, guys, come on. Just stick with what's good. It's been forever since there's been like a new candy bar. It's because we have everyone that we need. We don't need more.
I don't know. Remember the Take 5 from the 80s? The Take 5 they have today is terrible, but
oh no.
There was a Take 5 from the 80s that was amazing. And they don't make it anymore, and I wish they would bring it back. That was my favorite candy bar.
And we digress. There's a couple of special things going on this Monday.
John and Heidi.
Hey, it's John and Heidi. Join us for 80s in the Sand, a week-long 80s event this November 11th through the 18th in beautiful Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic.
Meet and listen to 80s bands like Loverboy, Starship, Howard Jones, and many more.
Plus, meet 80s icons from the movies like Anthony Michael Hall, Andrew McCarthy, and several others.
Get all the details at 80sinthesand.com.
Use promo code RADIO to get a $200 immediate refund per person.
Book your week-long 80s vacation now at 80sinthesand.com.
You know it's true because you heard it on the radio. Now, I'm going to warn you, this is kind of a weird story here. A woman drives and talks on the cell phone at the same time, and it costs her an arm and a leg. Well, actually, just an arm. This was in Kentucky. A woman and her 6-year-old daughter are recovering after they had to be cut out of the wreckage of their car. It was an SUV.
No.
Jacqueline Dotson veered into the median, overcorrecting, rolling her truck over a guardrail and landing upside down after flipping several times. Unfortunately, she is recovering without one of her arms. So she's okay, but she lost an arm. And this is the weird part. Her arm was found near the accident, still holding the cell phone.
Oh my gosh.
I know. That is just that's the weird part. That's the bizarre part. That is awful. I didn't know that your hand, once it was severed, would still, I guess, I don't know. I never really thought of it. Haven't put a lot of thought into this, but you wouldn't think.
There's no way you can open the hand if there's nothing working those tendons and muscles and stuff. So if it was closed when it was severed, it's going to stay closed.
Is that how it works? I don't know. You're sure of this?
Well, your brain works your whole body and it works those muscles. If there's nothing working those muscles, how is your hand going to open up?
I don't know. I have no clue. I think that we are way off the deep end. We're completely out of the the realm of things that we know about. This is.
I'm pretty sure about this.
Have you ever seen a severed hand before or a severed leg?
You think it keeps moving?
No, but I'm saying that it would be just like limp in my mind. I don't know. I don't know. So neither one of us really know.
Clearly it doesn't because it was still holding the phone.
And we're both defending the fact that we don't know, but we're certain that it's the other way. So anyway, this is what happened. And you know it's true because you heard it on the radio.
John and Heidi.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain. And this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again,
844-204-1055.
And this is your brain on drugs. Sometimes people are so dumb, it's just funny. Cecil Carmer of Indianapolis, Indiana, gave police a fake name. He said, my name is Robert. They busted him for drug possession and paraphernalia when they found a virtual meth lab in his car. Cecil's name was not Robert. It said so right there on his tattoo on his neck. Tattoo says Cecil. Police were suspicious. They checked out. Lo and behold, it was Cecil. So there you go. Maybe that's a bad idea to have your name tattooed on your neck if you're going to try to use an alias. Mm-hmm. What's your name? Robert?
I think it's a bad idea to have a neck tattoo, period.
So why does your neck tattoo say my name is Cecil?
Yeah.
I just can't even imagine that. So once again, he was being arrested for drug possession and paraphernalia. So the guy doesn't think a lot. You know, there's a lot of things that he maybe should be doing differently in his life. So hopefully he'll get the help he needs now. Coming up, we've got your moment of duh. That's on the way.
John and Heidi.
Now your moment of duh. 2 teenagers from West Haven, Connecticut made 3 mistakes. Mistake number 1, stealing 30 dozen eggs. 30 dozen. That's a lot of eggs.
Okay.
Mistake number 2, throwing said eggs at passing cars. Mm-hmm. That's a bad idea. Mm-hmm. Mistake number 3, not paying attention to which cars you were throwing said eggs at. Eggs were hitting a police car. Yeah. The boys were arrested, charged with not only criminal mischief, but also with larceny for stealing the eggs. So larceny apparently is stealing. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that's what larceny meant. I guess I don't know what I thought it meant. I just didn't know what it meant. But I've heard grand larceny. That is that stealing a grand piano? Is that what that is?
No, I don't think so.
Just stealing something big, like more than 30
stealing
eggs?
Lots of
30
things.
dozen eggs? All right, coming up, we've got your scoop of the day. That is on the way. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday.
The scoop of the day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now your scoop of the day. Adriana Irene Marcias Hernandez from Guadalajara, Mexico, may have been born without arms and legs, but she has not let that keep her from having a successful life, nor out of the Guinness World Record books. Last year, on an Italian TV show, she broke the record for lighting 11 candles in 60 seconds with her feet.
Ew.
The 39-year-old is an attorney and has written several books. She also works to promote inclusiveness for the disabled in her home country. When Hernandez is not lighting candles with her feet, she uses them to write and cook and hold a cell phone and retouch her hair and makeup. So she's saying, hey, I get by just fine without
I couldn't
arms.
light candles that fast with my hands.
I couldn't either. That's crazy. So that's awesome. Hats off to you. A judge has ordered R&B singer Chris Brown to stay away from his ex-girlfriend when she accused him of physically abusing and threatening her. Now, he has been in trouble for the same kind of thing in the past. Why is that man still free? When other people do that, don't they get arrested? I don't understand what's going on.
Because he's rich and famous and
That's just
he can
wrong.
do whatever he wants.
That doesn't, you know what? I would vote by not purchasing his music and not supporting his career because he's not a good guy.
You've never purchased
But that's what I'm saying. I'm already voting that way. See, I'm ahead of the curve. I knew even ahead of time. So Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, there's some musicians we've heard of. They're reuniting in the studio to record some songs. They did it last weekend, so they already did it. So
That's nice.
yeah, that is. They both were Beatles, by the way, kids. And you have to ask mom and dad who the Beatles were. An Ohio bill has been introduced requiring cursive writing in schools. So they're saying, hey, we should introduce required cursive.
It absolutely has to be taught.
There are a lot of people out there that are younger that have no idea what cursive is.
You don't have to use it forever, but you have to know how to read it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I sign my name in cursive, and that's about it. You know, and it's even that is kind of half cursive, half print.
Mine too. Have you
it's kind of a mixture of letters.
You ever notice my signature? It's like what kind of signature is that? And all of my writing, I kind of go back and forth between cursive and whatever you call the stuff that's not cursive.
Print.
That's it.
Yeah.
Between cursive and print, and then just some gibberish that I throw in.
But you have to be able to at least read it, because kids can't read cursive.
I write with emojis too. I put smiley faces and all kinds of stuff. So I'm just ahead of the game. Hey, the boycott continues, but Ivanka Trump's perfume is now the #1 seller on Amazon.
That's great.
So there's people out there saying, don't buy this stuff. But there's other people going, oh, I already did. A South Carolina mother of 3 was, quote, absolutely blown away, end quote, when a Columbia Walmart cashier insisted on covering half of her $200 grocery bill when her personal credit card was not, with her personal credit card. There you go. I've got a link to that story, by the way, if you want to check that out. It's kind of a neat thing. I've been getting some extra good news, and I've been sprinkling those throughout the program here. We always end with good news. So for those of you who never hear the end of the show, you don't even know what you've been missing. A team of NASA scientists are trying to make Pluto a planet again. Yay! Who do we thank for this? The group is being led by Alan Stern, who headed NASA's mission to Pluto. He's proposed changing the definition of a planet. So there are a lot of people out there who were not too thrilled when they said Pluto's no longer a planet. Okay, when I say a lot of people, I mean I'm one of those people. Pluto is always going to be a planet to me.
Pluto.
Yeah. My very eager mother just served us 9 pickles. And I'm telling you, without Pluto, my very eager mother just served us 9 what? Nothing. See? How am I going to know my planets without it? And a bull was on the loose.
What on earth?
Didn't you know? Is that not how you learned the planets?
No.
Are you serious?
What in the world are you talking about?
How did you learn the planets? The Mars?
The solar system?
But you didn't learn it like that. My very eager mother just served us 9 pickles. Well, now you know.
Thought you had Tourette's or something. I didn't know what was going on.
You were just looking at me very strange there. Hey, there was a bull that got out. It was supposed to be going to a slaughterhouse in Queens, New York, which I didn't realize they had slaughterhouses there. But the bull got out and was roaming the streets of Jamaica, Queens, escaped from, a slaughterhouse. So how crazy would that be to be in New York City and see a bull walk by or run by or whatever they do? All right, we're going to move on. We have other stuff to talk about, and we've got that on the way. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Radio advertising works. When it's done right, it works even better. There are many things you can do to get a better response, and shouting sale really isn't the best thing, believe it or not. Did you know that when you put words to music, they're 9 times more memorable? If you're trying to get people to remember your company, consider a jingle. We work with one of the very best jingle companies in the business, and we'd love to use music to help you grow your company. Learn more and hear examples at RadioReallyWorks.com. That's RadioReallyWorks.com. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. My guest today is #1 New York Times bestselling author Mark Greaney. Now, Mark Greaney is actually Tom Clancy's co-author on his last 3 novels, and then he's taken on some of his own novels in that same series. So he's the #1 New York Times bestselling author of Tom Clancy Full Force and Effect, Tom Clancy Support and Defend, and Tom Clancy Commander-in-Chief. Now he's back with his latest thriller featuring the Gray Man, and his book is called Gunmetal Gray. On the line right now, we have Mark Greaney. Mr. Greaney, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for taking time to chat with us. So, Gunmetal Gray, we've got this new book out. This is quite a book, I got to say. How long did it take to put something like this together?
I had a kernel of an idea kind of bouncing around in my head for, a year or two, and then when it was time to start a new Gray Man book, probably last January, it took into the spring and summer, did a little bit of travel, a ton of interviews and talking to people, and it probably took 5 or 6 months to get the whole thing down.
When you're putting a book together like this, how important is it to get the details right when you're working, like you said, you did some interviews with people that are in the field. How important is it to get those details right? Is it pretty important?
It's very very important for me. I don't use everything that I learn in the books. It can definitely be overkill, and then you don't want to put something in the book just because you went to the trouble to learn it. And so I've read entire 500-page books for one piece of information, decided not to use it, and just had to sack the whole thing. But there's this saying that a book doesn't have to be or a novel doesn't have to be factual, but it has to be credible. And so I have to learn enough to put in there to make it interesting, take out the less interesting parts, and kind of just process things in my brain in a very realistic way, even though the story is pushes the envelope because of the action and all.
You've actually co-authored Tom Clancy's last 3 novels, and when you worked together with him on that, what kind of experience was that, and how has that helped you when you're putting together your own books now?
It's helped a great deal. I did 3 books with Tom before he passed away in 2013, and then his family asked me to continue the Jack Ryan series, so I've done 4 since Tom's death. Most recent came out in December. And so that, beforehand, I had my first Gray Man book probably was a little bit more like Die Hard and a little less like a Tom Clancy novel. But my own series has morphed as I've learned things and become interested in a broader and deeper aspect of geopolitical affairs and all that. My stories are still real action-focused, gritty shoot-'em-up novels, but there is quite a bit of Tom Clancy in them now because of the research and the depth that I go into. Now,
that is quite an opportunity to get a chance to work with a legend like that. How in the world did that whole thing get started?
It was, I was the most surprised person when I got the phone call one day. My editor of my Gray Man books was also Tom Clancy's editor of his Jack Ryan novels, just coincidentally. And I think I turned in my 3rd Gray Man book, and I only had 2 out on shelves, and my editor called and asked if I'd be interested in co-authoring with Tom because he was looking for a new co-author. And I very distinctly remember just being terrified and wondering how I could get out of this without letting down my agent and my editor because it just seemed so daunting. But I went up to Baltimore and I met Tom and we did 3 books. And after maybe a month into the first one, I never thought again about how daunting a task it was because I had so much work to do. And by the end of the process, when Tom passed away, I felt like I was the right person to continue the story. So I grew a lot, very quickly doing the book.
That's awesome. Now let's talk a little bit about your background because you've got a degree in political science, international relations. How did that prepare you to become a writer? And if you hadn't had the opportunity to be a writer full-time, what do you think you'd be doing with your life right now?
Well, I didn't become a writer until I was 42 years old, so I can pretty much tell you what I'd be doing with my life because, honestly, for the first 10 years after I graduated college, I worked in restaurants, and I felt like that's what political science had prepared me for because I was not making the most out of it. And I told people for the longest time that I didn't use my degree in my life, but it definitely was the things that I was interested in were involved international affairs and political science. I worked in the medical device industry for a long time in the international wing of things, so I did a lot of foreign travel, a lot of foreign language in my job, and so that kind of multiculturalism kind of helped me expand my horizons. And I just read novels. I read a ton of novels, and more than anything else that ever happened to me, I would say it was just reading books, loving books, and coming up with these little kernels of ideas that set my path for me.
Again, visiting right now with Mark Greaney, author of a new book, Gunmetal Gray. He's a fantastic author, New York Times #1 best-selling author of several books. Now, what would you say has been the most surprising thing to you about being a writer? Are there things that you thought this was going to be like, and then when you started actually doing it isn't quite the same?
There's a lot of things that were different than I would guess. And it's funny, I get emails from people all the time, and I can tell that they're where I was a few years ago. So I try and explain to them that things are different than they might think. There's a quicker turnaround time with books than I thought there was. And back in the old days, Tom Clancy would put a book out every couple of years or maybe once a year. And I've done 2 books a year every year since I've been in this. So this cycle of cranking the books out is a lot faster than I thought it would be. But really the main thing that has surprised me is the people who will talk to you, the people who are interested in telling you their stories. I never really, thought about it that much, but once I started working with Tom Clancy and I got a little bit of a name to me, it just opened a lot of doors, and I've been to the Pentagon, and I've been to a lot of the 3-letter agencies up in D.C., and I've met people from kind of the highest military special mission units and special forces groups, and just got back from Poland and Germany last week, and I met a just retired German general who has helped me with another project I'm working on. So it's been real eye-opening, the stuff you can learn if you just go out with a pen and a paper and ask the right questions.
It's fun for me specifically to hear this story because I have a son that wants to be a writer, and he's 20. So let's just pretend that you're talking to a 20-year-old Mark Greaney. What kind of advice would you give a 20-year-old Mark Greaney that maybe you hadn't thought of as a 20-year-old?
My biggest advice that I tell people, and it sounds like a no-brainer, but I've met so many hundreds of people that are struggling with this, is my advice is to finish something. So many people have a bunch of ideas, which a writer needs to have. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. So a lot of people will write on things that interest them, and then they'll move on to something else. And you learn that the most important thing is the discipline to not write that 80% of a book, which is fun because the ideas flow and you're so high on yourself for your great ideas. It's that last 20% of the connective tissue and those little speed bumps that you meet along the way. So even if he's a poet or a novelist or whatever, it's that completing an entire work and then going on to the next thing and then going on to the next thing. So you have to be really creative, but there's also a real craft to it's part of it feels like construction work, and you just have to be a professional. You just have to push yourself through and complete projects, and then everything else will come after that.
It's like you're standing over his shoulder right now because I think he's got 36 books started and one finished. So
yeah, that's very necessary. I mean, it's great that he's creative, and that's something that you can't teach. You've got to have that. But the thing that you can teach is to to stand over their shoulder and really push them for that last little bit.
Again, Mark Greaney has been our guest today. What is the future for Mark Greaney? Do you see another book, a Jack Ryan novel coming out, another Gray Man series, both? What do you feel is the next book for you?
Well, right now I'm working on next year's Gray Man book. It's called Weaponized. So I'm right in the middle of that one and dealing with all the issues of that one that I was dealing with when I was writing Gunmetal Gray this time of last year. So there is this never-ending cycle that you're walking on. But that's the book that I'm working on right now, and I'm looking forward to that coming out next year.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us, and please reach out again next year when that book is available. We'd love to catch up and see how things have gone over the last year, but we appreciate you taking the time right now, and you have a wonderful day.
You too. Thanks so much, John.
Again, the book is called Gunmetal Gray. It's by author Mark Greaney. It's available right now wherever fine books are sold. Thank you for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Many people go to college, but when they graduate, they've racked up a ton of debt. Not everyone, though. Matthew Einstone saved over $70,000 on a top-rate education. Then, after everyone wanted to know how he did it, he built a system to show you how to do it, too. Learn how you can use his system for yourself or for your kids. Go to freeeducationuniversity.com. Watch a few videos there for free. Sign up now and get a free 60-minute private consultation with Matthew. That's freeeducationuniversity.com. Use promo code Radio20 to save 20%.
John and Heidi.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Berkshire Christian College once had a dean named David Dean, so he would be known as Dean, which is kind of cool. I remember in Back to School, the guy last name was Martin, so he was Dean Martin. Remember that? Mm-hmm. That was funny, too. Hey, fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
In South Africa, there is an undertaker service by the name of Human and Pit. I don't think I'd want to go to the Human Pit Undertakers. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What is that, John?
Only pharaohs were allowed to eat mushrooms in ancient Egypt. So they hogged them to themselves. I love mushrooms, so I'm glad that I wasn't a peasant in ancient Egypt. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Trivial Pursuit was invented by two Canadians who were too cheap to buy a Scrabble board. Scott Abbott and Chris Haney didn't want to pay the $16 for Scrabble, so they said, hey, let's just make up our own game. And they came up with Trivial Pursuit. There you go. That's our final
That's a better game than Scrabble anyway, I think.
Well, I don't know about better, but it's a fun game. It's a really neat game. I like it because if you play with the idiots that I know, I always win. So there you go.
What are you saying?
I'm just pointing at you. I'm just kidding. I hardly ever win at anything in my life. So it's always nice when I can win at something. Couple of fun facts for you on a Monday.
John and Heidi.
This is Richard Lustig, the world's first and only 7-time lottery game grand prize winner. Since I endorsed Lottolicious, I have won something every single draw. They do all the work. You don't have to worry about running to the store to buy your tickets. They take care of all that. So if you're looking for the best way to play the lottery, to give yourself the best chance of winning, go to RadioLottoPool.com and join today. Again, that website is RadioLottoPool.com.
John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show this Monday. Great ways to develop relationships. If you want to have more friends, here's what you're supposed to do, Heidi. Be direct and honest. So instead of being indirect and, dishonest.
That tends to help.
Yeah. Never have a superior attitude when approaching a person. So never act like you're better than them if you want to be a friend with somebody. I don't know, this is important stuff. Give sincere compliments. So make sure that you're, when you're complimenting people, you're not just saying stuff just to say stuff. By the way, you look beautiful today. But make sure it's a sincere compliment. You look fabulous. Hey, learn to listen and respond to the person that you want to attract. So if you're going to be, trying to attract people as friends, learn to listen to them and respond to them. Who wrote this list? And above all else, be honest always. So that's the list. It does not say where this came from other than the internet, but I don't have any sort of credible person that I can pin this on. Should we tear these apart one at a time? So if you're trying to make friends...
I mean, that's just common sense.
I think every one of those. The sincere compliments, I do like that one. I think that's important because I remember we were talking to some people who were recruiting us into a thing.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
And it was funny because they were saying, we just met them, didn't know these people. And when we met them, they were being really super, overly nice. And we were thinking, wow, these people are really, really nice. And then when we signed up to do this thing that they were doing, they're like, so here's what you do. And then they basically just told us that we just played you guys.
Yeah,
the whole time.
What we did to you.
They walk out of the house and my wife and I, we were laughing so hard. We're like, we are the biggest idiots in the world. What did we just sign up for?
Yeah.
That was the dumbest. Why did we do this? We don't even know these people. Anyway, we've made some really dumb mistakes in our life. Someday we'll have to write a book.
I would like to point out that most of those dumb mistakes are things that you've talked to me
Let me
into
say that
doing.
again. I have dragged my wife into some really dumb things in our life. There you go. You're welcome. We've got sweet marriage vows on the way.
John and Heidi.
Hey, it's John and Heidi inviting you to join us for a party in paradise.
This is a week-long event with 80s music from over a dozen awesome bands.
And 80s movie and TV icons like Anthony Michael Hall, Andrew McCarthy, and several others.
Get all the details at 80sinthesand.com.
Use promo code RADIO to get a $200 immediate refund per person.
We'll even get together to have some drinks with you.
Book your week-long 80s vacation now at 80sinthesand.com.
That's 80sinthesand.com.
In Waterloo, Canada, the parents of Nick and Sarah Skalkos are still in shock. The young couple just got married in what Reverend Frank Quinto called the weirdest wedding I've ever done. That's going to be interesting.
Okay.
The couple had no real thought of tying the knot when they had 20 friends. One of them happened to be a minister, arrived at Ethel's Bar in Waterloo to celebrate Nick's 25th birthday. Coincidentally, it was also the first anniversary of their meeting. At some point in the evening, a friend said, hey, when are you two going to get married? After that, things kind of snowballed. Long story short, they ran across the street to Tim Horton's donut shop, and Frank, the minister, did the job. What they use for wedding rings? Honey curlers. Apparently those are some sort of ring, like donuts. Is that what that is?
I don't know.
Anyway, they ate them 5 minutes after the ceremony. Then they returned back to Ethel's Bar, and they continued drinking until they closed. Despite their parents' bewilderment, Nick and Sarah still say they are ecstatic. So they got married in a donut shop after getting drunk across the street in a bar.
That's so romantic.
Isn't that how we met? No, but that does sound like the way we would meet. All right. Coming up, we're going to talk about waking up, sleepyhead. It's on the way. Okay, if you're getting drowsy right now, wake up because you got to hear this story. Have you ever accidentally fallen asleep at the wheel? Heidi, have you ever done that? Started to doze off?
I've started to doze off, yes, and that's scary.
Well, it can be a real downer, but there's an invention coming to help you. I have one already. I don't need to read the story. I can tell you what my invention is. It's called a wife that says, pull over and let me drive. No, pull over. Pull over and let me drive. And I'm like, I'm fine. Because
you're not fine because your eyes are closing.
No, all of this nagging that you're doing is keeping me awake.
It doesn't, though. That's why I tell you to pull over and let me drive.
Anyway, here's the actual invention. If you get sleepy in the car and you start to, doze off, there's some new glasses that are going to be coming to the rescue. Drivers in Romania will soon have glasses that switch off the engine if you start to fall asleep.
Oh.
The inventor, Akos Penzes, says they have built-in sensors which measure how long your eyes are closed when they blink. If the eyelids remain closed for more than 1.2 seconds, a warning alarm sounds, and then the car ignition is turned off. That's a cool idea.
But couldn't that be dangerous if there's traffic behind you?
Yeah, but I
if
suppose
your car all of a sudden turns off?
I don't know. With the little buzzer, it's supposed to wake you up. So I don't know. It's an interesting idea.
Huh.
So coming up, I've got something that I'm going to love and she's going to hate. It's on the way.
John and Heidi.
Many people go to college, but when they graduate, they've racked up a ton of debt. Not everyone, though. Matthew Einstein saved over $70,000 on a top-rate education. Then, after everyone wanted to know how he did it, he built a system to show you how to do it too. Learn how you can use this system for yourself or for your kids. Go to freeeducationuniversity.com. Sign up now and get a free 60-minute private consultation with Matthew. That's freeeducationuniversity.com. Use promo code RADIO20 to save 20%.
John and Heidi.
I think this is really cool. And this is a magazine recently ran a thing called Dilbert Quotes Contest, where you were supposed to submit real-life Dilbert-type managers. So do you know who Dilbert is, first of all?
Yeah, I never liked Dilbert.
That's why I said I'm going to like it and you're not. So these are some actual quotes. These were the top 10 winners. What I need is an exact list of specific unknown problems we might encounter. I need the specific unknowns. That's funny. This is something someone really asked for. Another one, email is not to be used to pass on information or data. It should only be used for company business. This project is so important we can't let things that are more important interfere with it. Do it right, so no excuses for not meeting this. Doing it right is no excuse for not meeting the schedule. So, another Dilbert-like quote, and again, like I said, I think these are funny. No one will believe you solved this problem in one day. We've been working on it for 2 months. Now go act busy for a few weeks, and I'll let you know when to tell him it's time. This is something that really happened at 3M. So somebody solved the problem in one day, and his manager said, "Okay, you go just act busy for a few weeks, and then we're gonna let him know what this is." Another quote from the boss: "Teamwork is a lot of people doing what I say." This one here says, "My sister passed away and her funeral was scheduled for Monday. When I told my boss, he said she died on purpose so I could get to miss work on the busiest day of the year."
Wow.
When he asked if we could change her burial to Friday, he said, "That would be better for me."
Oh, my gosh.
No kidding. There's two more, so we'll try to get them both squeezed in. "We know that communication is a problem, but the company is not going to discuss it with the employees." And the final Dilbert quote: "As of tomorrow, employees will only be able to access the building using individual security cards. Pictures will be taken next Wednesday, and employees will receive their cards in 2 weeks." But remember, they said as of tomorrow, so I wonder how people got in for 2 weeks. Couple of fun things there. We've got your good news on the way.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
Always try to wrap things up around here with good news, and I think this is good news. This is really kind of a neat thing. Everett Botswright is a 6-year-old boy in British Columbia with autism, and his parents say food is one of his key issues. Lately, though, there's one food that he really, really likes. It's a Star Wars-themed macaroni dinner from Kraft, like a mac and cheese kind of thing.
Sure.
The problem, though, is they discovered, oh no, it's a limited edition. We're having trouble finding it. So they threw out a call on social media, and when they did, they didn't know their plea was going to go viral. It even got to William Shatner. Why would he care? Because it's Star Wars. He was in Star Trek.
Star Wars. Yeah. I
Anyway.
don't know why he would care.
That's kind of weird.
He must be a Star Wars
It
fan.
must be. William Shatner got in on the action, tweeting at Kraft, "Can you possibly help?" ? The result, more than 500 boxes have been given to the family over the last couple of weeks. Real Canadian superstores shipped 411 boxes. Individuals have sent some too. Many people, including special messages with their dinner for this young man. The family has also heard from others whose children have similar struggles, who have offered advice and encouragement. Everett's dad calls the experience, quote, magical, end quote. And when the Star Wars dinners inevitably do run out, Everett says, well, we might have to try another version of a pasta dinner. So I think that's really cool, though, that people came to the rescue. This little kid, hey, finally found something he likes to eat, and by golly, it's one of these weird things where it's a special edition, a limited time. So I think it's cool that William.
I mean,
I think it's funny that William Shatner
just
got involved,
make your
though.
kid eat.
Well, you can't just say you're going to eat and you're going to make them eat, but this was something the kid actually liked to eat. So there you go. I gotta say it's time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
I think it's time for us to leave this room. We have disagreed on almost every story all day today. Have we agreed on anything yet? This is the first time we agreed on anything. It's time to say goodbye. All right. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Have a great Monday.